Turning to another day of high partisan drama and political intrigue on Capitol Hill, House Speaker John Boehner now working to come up with a two-year budget deal that also raises the debt ceiling just days before he leaves office. It's clearly a deal worked out between the Speaker and the President despite strong conservative opposition and most assuredly with the cooperation of the soon-to-be Speaker, Paul Ryan.
Somebody got a bipartisan agreement in a town that isn't known for a lot of bipartisanship, you're going to see bricks flying from those that don't like the fact that there's a bipartisan agreement. I made it clear a month ago when I announced that I was leaving that I wanted to do my best to clean the barn. I didn't want him to walk into a dirty barn full of you-know-what.
Boehner acknowledged the behind-closed-doors process that created this proposal, quote, stinks, but he defended it as, all things considered, a good deal. Republicans tonight are scrambling for votes on the plan. My first guest says he will not be voting for this seriously flawed budget deal. Joining us tonight is Congressman John Fleming, a member of the Freedom Caucus. He serves on both the House Armed Services and Natural Resources Committees. Congressman, good to have you with us. This is quite I think, a bit of a circus act. Boehner, the president, and the soon-to-be Speaker apparently coming up with this in hurried form. You can't support it.
Not at all, Lou. And in fact, most Republicans in the House will not be supporting this. This is what Americans hate most about Washington. A huge $1.5 trillion spending bill cooked up behind closed doors, dropped on members of the House in less than 48 hours before we have to vote for it. It has cuts in later years, and it has spending in early years. Those cuts will, of course, never come to pass. There is no real entitlement reform despite the advertising.
Yeah, the suggestion of an entitlement reform. Then we look to Ex-Import Bank reauthorization that you all have just voted on.
Yes.
I mean, the soon-to-be Speaker Ryan was eloquent, pointing out that this money that the Export-Import Bank puts out, just about all of it, goes to 10 companies, about two-thirds of the money. And he was eloquent in his opposition, and yet he did not prevail. It was an overwhelming vote to reauthorize the Export-Import Bank. What are your thoughts?
Well, again, Lou, that's just the second punch in the gut. Washington doing things that the American people do not like. The Ex-Im Bank, of course, is not well known by our constituents, but the bottom line is it's the federal government lending money to wealthy, publicly traded companies and giving them, in essence, welfare. And if we're not going to reform entitlements for the poor, why in the world would we give welfare to the wealthy?
Well, Congressman Paul Ryan himself calls it crony capitalism, opposes it mightily, talks about the concentration, as I said, most of the money going to 10 companies. I mean, this is pretty clearly a K Street instrument, this reauthorization. Mm-hmm. It is the device in the bidding of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable. And let's be honest, a lot of your colleagues have sold out to those folks pretty, I would have to call it absolutely.
Yes, no question about it. This is a K Street deal. It's not a Main Street deal. Lazy politicians, rather than raising money in their districts among people who support them in what they're doing and trying to build jobs and strengthen the middle class, instead they depend on the shower of dollars that come from K Street, and of course they have to vote accordingly. And that, again, is just another big problem we have in Washington, a mess that needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah, but Boehner talks about a barn he's trying to clean up, but the smell is, extraordinary. It reaches from coast to coast. And the way you guys are doing business is embarrassing even to, I would think, a third-rate burglar, for crying out loud.
Exactly. And Lou, that's why we, the 9 founders of the Freedom Caucus, came together. We want to change the way business is done in Washington. As you know, we took out the Speaker and we blocked the second in line for that. We're bringing in a third person that we think that we can work with.
But
and so
why
it's
do you
going to
think
be
you can
important.
work? But I find that mind-boggling. Paul Ryan is a F-graded conservative.
Yes.
I mean, and suddenly you guys are pretending he's some sort of conservative. I can't sit here representing my audience and say, oh, that's nice that he's going to be a conservative speaker. He's not going to be anything of the sort. He is in that giant train of people. He's following his nose straight to K Street, to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable.
Yeah, I can tell you that he did not get the endorsement of the Freedom Caucus and many of our
but he
Freedom
got your
Caucus
support. I mean, and that's part of what the language is part of what's wrong with this town, Congressman, as you know. People sitting there trying to BS one another. This is a little, we like to consider this broadcast a little safe island in the midst of all of it, where we try to keep that stuff pushed away. Where are we headed? I'm going to give you the last word here, Congressman.
Well, I think in terms of our speaker, our new speaker, whom we expect to be Paul Ryan, we're going to give him a trial period. And he'll be up for a vote again in approximately a year. And he pledges to change the process, and he's going to have the opportunity to do that. But we want to see this work organically from the ground up. No more big deals done behind closed doors with the president, among only a handful of people, Lou.
Yeah, well, it would be nice to think that there wouldn't be any big deals at all, because we know who's going to bring those to the floor. So I hope you're right. And by the way, I'm sitting here, as I go through Paul Ryan's statement, Congressman, I mean, these are pretty words. The biggest beneficiaries of the Export-Import Bank, 2/3 of their money go to 10 companies, he said.
Yes.
The bank, it does cost money, like any other special entity of this government, and loses money. So,
yes.
maybe you will convert the speaker to be, and I will be applauding you all the way.
We're going to work on it, Lou. I'm going to do it especially for you. We're going to make sure that we are in the process of changing some rules and devolving power, and we're going to force the hand of our future speaker to make this a more organic process where we actually represent the 700,000 people back in our districts.
Yeah, it would be nice to see at least the tip of the hat to those constituents. By the way, I'm amongst those, and so I have a decided, clear interest in your success. Congressman, thanks for being with us. Congressman John Fleming.
Always a pleasure.
Great to have you here.